Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Will Finn, current mayor for the city of Woodland. First of all, thank you to the Chamber for hosting this event. Again, thank you very much. Before we get started tonight or this afternoon, I do want to make one announcement. The re-elect campaign for Will Finn has gotten together, and if you've been paying attention to the football team at the Woodland High School, they've been doing a tremendous job this year, and they are winning. Due to the levy failure, they don't have transportation cover to the out-of-town game that is pending. So we've gotten together, and we would like to start a donation for that. Our goal is $1,500, and we thought we'd start with the business community and some of the members that are here today. So with that, we're hoping to cover 2 buses to get them to their exciting games. Mary Hall, can you raise your hand for me, please? If you would like to make a donation to get us to that $1,500, please pass that donation on to Mrs. Hall. Anything collected above and beyond that will be given to the class of 2024 drug and alcohol-free party. I am seeking a 3rd term to build on the positive foundation that we started back in 2016. We've rectified a lot of broken relationships that we had. Between the mayor's office and city council, we've created a team-oriented group to where all thoughts and opinions can be voiced and good policy and legislation comes out of that. We've also fixed relationships that we've had with our business community. We were known as an unbusiness-friendly city, and we have fixed that, and we have overhauled City Hall and come from a place of yes and tried to make a customer service experience for those that are doing business in Woodland, those that are seeking to do business in Woodland, and those that live here in Woodland. The past 4 years, we've spent enhancing our law enforcement department by creating new programs such as the drone program and our phlebotomy program. We've stopped the 1% property tax increase in 2023, and we're advocating for that again in 2024. And that's a council decision, not a mayor decision. But we believe that stopping that property tax increase will help, and it's not needed right now for our budget. The next 4 years, we'll be focusing on the next 15 to 20 years by updating our comprehensive plan and building upon the project that we have going right now with Exit 21. In fact, as of yesterday, we just received an opportunity for another funding mechanism to get the construction dollars for Exit 21 to fix our traffic issues that we have there. We are currently working on the engineering plans, and hopefully we'll get an approval with DOT in 2024. But we still seek for those construction funds because the heavy lift of that is on us. We will also continue with the comprehensive plan update on the supporting documentations that come with that, and what that does is keeps us responsible, keeps us accountable when it comes to growth, and ensuring that it is reasonable and responsible, and ensuring that everyone that lives out of the bottoms has a voice in that process, even though they're not inside the city limits. But then also the folks that live here within the city also have a voice, and that includes our business community, to ensure that the changes in the legislation and policies that are being put forward with our growth plan, it has little impact to our business community. And with that, thank you very much, and I look forward to questions.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for inviting me. I think it's a great forum. Regardless of who you vote for, I think it's good just to get educated, have a dialogue, conversation. Again, we're one community here. So I'm Todd, running for mayor. A little bit about me. I've kind of addressed it over the last 6 months. 31-year accounting experience, 28 years here in the community. It's time for new leadership and new change in Woodland. So what good does an accounting do? So let me walk through some of the things that really have caught grip over the last 5 or 6 months that are bothering me. Even the last night, I'll talk about how we left $40,000 or $50,000 on the table. So new leadership, new transparency. If you have issues, you have questions, it'll be one of those things where, hey, let's call the mayor, let's have a dialogue, let's have a conversation, and know that I will be looking over the dollars and cents and saying, hey, this is our community, these are our dollars. If you are a business partner with somebody, you want to make sure that they're spending the money how you both agree. So I've talked about it before, and I think it's very important to realize in May, we'll use the City of Woodland credit card for $1,858 in Las Vegas for 12 personal charges. No one on council, no one inside the city limits, or I'm sorry, the city government found those charges and stopped it. Eventually, it was a private citizen with a public data request, asked what those were, and he reimbursed it. So again, who's watching out for our dollars? Transportation fees have not been updated since 2012. That is dollars that we have under-collected at over $400,000. Again, we're working on new transportation fees. They are. Well, last night, when we talked about the transportation fees and the dollars that are being built to build up that rate, there's a roundabout out here that cost $2.5 million. The city paid a little over $1.1 million. If you would have included that from 2014, that would have increased the rate about $200. Just that 180 houses being built on Lewisburg Road would draw in another $40,000 of impact fees for us. But the decision was made, oh, we don't want to go back to 2012, or we only want to go to 2019. And the key point of 2019 is when I talked to the city yesterday before the meeting, was that was how long Tracy had been with the city. And it was a little bit voluminous to go back further. So again, who's watching out for those dollars? Employment contracts. Talked about that previously. That was on the agenda one day, and then the next day it's off of there. Looking to extend for 4 or 5 individuals instead of having a 2-month severance if they were to lose their position for without cause. It would now be a 6-month. Again, you asked at the council meeting if there's discussion. We're not ready to talk about it. We need transparency. There's 6,500 of us here. Each and every one of us deserves to know what is going on in our city. Does that mean I have 30 seconds or does that mean 20 seconds? 20 seconds. At the end of the day, I just think that it's time that we all have leadership and all have ownership of our city government.
You gotta stay up here, come on. Can you stand next to each other? Does that work?
I think we're
Adults. Okay, that's a good thing. Okay, questions?
This is going to be first or this one?
Audience will decide. Whoever asked a question. Yeah. And there's a microphone, so people can
Good
hear.
morning. I am Bernice Huescas, and my question is about what happened with the security of the kids outside of the middle school. And we were informed that a group of men was harassing our children. And I would really like to know what you guys are planning to do that. And I think we deserve to have more information. Which kind of group of men? Are criminals? Are illegal people? And before somebody decides to tell me I'm racist, I am from that country. I know how to live in hostage. I know how to live in a country that is run by drug cartels. So what will be your plan to do that for the security of the children? Thank you.
Which person do you want to, and let's make it to
Both
the
of them.
question. No, but which one first?
I would like the mayor to hear his.
Okay.
So the question on the table is, what are we doing to protect our children within the community in response to the issue that the school district sent out yesterday, I believe. First and foremost, I believe completely in our law enforcement officials that are here or in our department. One thing that I've done as mayor is that this is the first time in over 20 years that we've been able to add a law enforcement position to the department without raising taxes. So because of the cuts in spending and the reorganization that we've done within City Hall, we've been able to transfer some general fund dollars over to the police department and have a new position created in 2024. We've enhanced our law enforcement department to give them additional tools in their toolbox, and we continue to support them in every way that we possibly can. I'm confident that the issues that we're seeing yesterday, and which is very concerning to me as a community, is going to be handled. From a law enforcement standpoint, because I am one on a daily basis, there are things that can't be revealed, and they won't even be revealed to me as the mayor, because there's an active investigation going on. So I have all the confidence in the world that our police department here inside the city limits of Woodland is going to be taking care of that. I think constant communication and making sure that we're educating our children, what's safe, what's not safe, and making sure that they're going within the community, which is concerning to me because we are a small community. We're a very close community that we're encouraging our children now to go out in pairs, and that is a concern to me as well. But as we move forward, making sure we're in constant communication with the school district and making sure that we're educating our children on how to be safe.
So, great question. First thing I would say is about adding police and the want to remind everyone, it was the citizens here that all voted to pass the levy bill to add additional bodies, additional officers. I 100% support our police department. Great group of individuals. They are pretty much the face of our community. Without the police, we really don't have a community here. Second of all, when you have a 50% turnover in your police force here, it's pretty easy to add a position because you always have vacant positions, so you're never paying a full funded police department. And one of the questions that's come up, and the guild has asked, and I've asked, is with those levy dollars that we had, the lid dollars, are all those dollars truly getting spent on our police department? So again, comes back to transparency. Now back to your wonderful question. I think it starts with relationships, though, as well, with your city and your school. People need to trust their local government. Okay? If you don't trust the local government, you're not going to want to be a part. You're going to try to take your own security, your own things into your own hands. So it goes with the police as long as you trust the police and know that they're doing your job. And the city government is the exact same way. And we should have those partnerships and in communication. There are such apps out there called LiveSafe app, where we can have those built in right here in the city, where if somebody reports a crime on there, it is geofenced within the city limits, and it tells you, hey, this is going on over here, this is going on. We as a community need to look at that technology, which does not cost anything at all. So,
some of my question got answered, but as an ambassador for police chaplains in international and national, my goal and my love is for our officers. I have seen chiefs leave. I've now seen certain officers jumping ship to other cities. So my concern is that there is some kind of division going on within the police force, and I want both of you to answer. How do you expect to change that? Because when we lost our police chief years ago, it was devastating to the city.
Go first on that.
So, another great question. I think it first starts communication and trust with your mayor. Again, it's one thing if your police guild has a relationship with your chief, or such as Chief Kelly, but again, I've met with several of the officers. There is a lack of trust there, and it's shown. When you have a 16, 17-year veteran who packs up and leaves, we had a lieutenant position here, and we hired outside. Obviously, that individual was qualified. He got hired at another city. That tells you we're not unqualified. We have great individuals that were within our own community here. So that's one. Two is we need to put the resources and provide those resources to them. We as a community voted on levy lid. We said we want to contribute more dollars to them. We need to make sure that we are fully funding those dollars and giving it to the police guild. I do have to say I appreciate the city council giving them their 8% raise increase. Well deserved. You won't hear Dinehart ever say, hey, you should not be giving those raises to the police department. And so that's where it comes from, is building the relationship. I do find it interesting, though, we are one of only a handful that allows our officers to take their vehicles home. That is a perk, and we still have trouble keeping officers here. So what does that tell you there? If we now are giving a large increase, we're paying towards a higher scale, we're offering perks to let them take their vehicles home, and people are still leaving. That means that we have a bad culture within the police department, and it starts at the top.
Thank you for the question. As referring to the chief leaving years ago, that was a mutual decision that was made between the chief and myself, and it wasn't a good fit. As far as the culture within the police department, I think it's, as Mr. Dinehart pointed out, that there was a levy limit, that we added 3 new officers, and that was a vote of the people. The position I'm talking about is a position that my administration has found dollars for, to continue boosting up the bodies that are within the law enforcement department and making sure that our community is safe. We are providing them with a number of resources for their toolbox to include a new phlebotomy program, which not only helps us, but it also helps our allied agencies. We've started a drone program, which has helped with employee growth, which is another retention issue. Some of the complaints that have come out of the police department are that there is no room for growth. We're a small community. We're a small department. We're trying to give them incentives to get them to stay. And I am very excited to say that the contract that was just settled was one of the largest that department has ever seen. And it's a 4-year contract, and we are starting with an 8% increase come this January. But that is based on the relationship that I've made with City Council and selling the fact that we need to retain these individuals. We do have people that are turning over, but it's because they're so low paid. We're trying to rectify that and make sure that we have retention within our police department. The turnover, absolutely. But when you don't pay that much as it is, of course, somebody's going to try to move on to better themselves in their life. As far as the officer after 17 or 18 years of employment, that wasn't a promotion for him. He wasn't ran out of town. I actually spoke with the chief of battleground and gave him a glowing review. I sat down with the employee and explained to him how wonderful he was and we were sorry to see him go. I'm very excited for him and his family. He still lives here in Woodland, and I think that's wonderful. I too have sat down with the police guild and had conversations with them about the issues that they're having and the things that they're struggling with. And one of them is low pay, and we're addressing that now, and that is part of our strategic plan, not only with my administration, but also with City Council. That is being addressed, and hopefully that this contract that we just passed will help with retention.
Oh, sure, where is the mic?
I wanted to address exit 21. It comes up in a lot of literature. It comes up in the Woodland chat on Facebook. And I know that we have heard a lot of what our mayor, present mayor, has been doing about it by going to city council and chamber meetings when we have questions and answers. But I haven't heard how Mr. Dinehart would do differently to make a change.
Okay, before I get to that, I'm going to answer one, or go back to Will's comment here for a second, where he said our officers have left because of low pay. Remember, he's been our mayor for 8 years. Low pay is responsible for that. So exit 21. So we signed a $1 million contract here in the middle of August. For 6 or 7 months since I've been running campaign, Will has been telling us that we will have no roundabouts, no roundabouts, no roundabouts. But that new $1 million contract that we signed is going to analyze roundabouts and turn signals. So one, it's going to be transparency with our city. Has anyone heard since we signed that $1 million contract? In the Q3, they were supposed to do surveys. They were supposed to do citizen outreach. Has anyone heard anything from that $1 million? So it's one, I'm going to hold that contractor accountable to that contract that we signed with them for $1 million. I'm going to build partnerships. If you listen to the debate, and you also listen to Will here, he says he's built relationships, but in the debate he also said we have a horrible relationship with our county and county commissioners. But he said he built relationships. So it's building those relationships up with state, local officials so that we can get the funding. We tried funding 3 times and it has not worked. So it goes back to also the state wanting to have roundabouts. That's their preference. Again, we need to have dialogue, conversation with them so that we can make the decisions that are good for them, good for us. Right now, it's kind of a roadblock with us. And so the $1 million is where I would sit there and say, hey, let's figure out what we're going to do with it.
Well, that was a lot, and I disagree with some of it. So when it comes to the roundabout and the solutions that my opponent is discussing, we're required as a city to do the engineering for those along with the signalized intersection. I'm saying no roundabouts because that's what City Council and the community has come together and said we don't want roundabouts. However, we're held to a standard. The Washington State Department of Transportation is forcing us to get the roundabouts and the signalized intersection engineered to 80% before they'll sign off. Exit 21 is our transportation nightmare within the city. We have continued working on that as administration. We've applied for funding for construction 3 times and been denied 3 times. As stated during the beginning, we are addressing that, and in fact, we just have another opportunity to go out for additional funding as of yesterday, which we'll be applying for. We are pushing for signalized intersections. We have a traffic problem within the city limits. So we will continue doing that and working with our partners. As far as horrible relationships at the county, I don't believe that's what I said. I said we have a bad relationship when it comes to our growth with the county. We are at odds of whether or not we are going to grow or not grow. That's where the strain on our relationship comes from. I'll remind you, and I see that Commissioner Morrison is here today, and thank you very much. The county provided $2.6 million to go towards the Exit 21 project. We would not be in the position we are right now if it wasn't for that partnership and with them indicating that they wanted to help us with that. So with that, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. And I think the citizens will greatly benefit from that. But what we're focusing on now is making sure that DOT is going to approve Exit 21 engineered to 80%. As far as the community outreach portion, we did do community outreach. We are doing community outreach. As far as the contractor doing community outreach, that will be addressed as well. But the community has come together and said, we want signalized intersection. We held open houses, we had lots of dialogue, and we received the information from the community and delivered that to City Council. That's where we are with Exit 21.
All right, I have a question here, and we'll start with Will. At last night's council meeting, there was an action item. It was action item E, approving an ordinance 1541 for zoning, multifamily zoning. And when that came up for business, it looked like nobody was sure what was going on at all. Can you tell us what happened with that?
Absolutely. So what that was, that the apartment complex that's proposed on Woods River Road between Gun Club and Insel Road is approved for 252 units. The contractor contacted us, or the developer contacted us and said, hey, we saw the outcry from the community. They don't want the apartments there. We have another plan in place, which is 80 to 90 single-family homes. However, in order for us to pencil out our project, we need to reduce the square footage of the lots. They applied for that, and that's what was given to City Council. This was discussed at the last meeting 2 weeks ago. So last night, there was no action taken. So the motion just died, or the item just died right there. And to my understanding, and my conversation with the developer now is, and it's kind of unfair that they have the advantage to hold us over a barrel and say, hey, you either give us this, you get your 80 and 90 units, or we're just going to go ahead and build the apartments. So basically what we gave them last night was go ahead and build the 252 units. I'm hoping that we can still bring them back to the table and negotiate and hopefully get back down to those single family residents. However, I don't know that they're willing to deal with us at this point. But that's what happened last night. Nothing happened because nobody wanted to bring it up and discuss it again. And that's a city council decision. That's not the mayor's decision. I sat down. The mayor's job is to sit down, talk to the developers, figure out what's going to be best for the community. This is what they brought forward. The community does not want 252 units. This was an option for City Council to consider.
Agreed. I mean, I was there. I mean, it's not, I think he answered your question, and I could belabor the whole thing, but we're on the same page here, Keith.
Questions? You go there, right there.
So, I know this will be a question, just give me some background for it. So, we had our sewer rates jacked up in around year 2000 when we needed a new sewer treatment plant. And in talking to one of the people who works at the sewer treatment plant at the debate, he brought up the fact that he looks every day when he goes into work that the expiration for our sewer treatment plant is 2023. For a new sewer treatment plant, it's about $12 million per million gallons a day that's treated. We treat about 3 million gallons a day, according to the City of Woodland website. So a new treatment plant is looking. So the equipment lasts 15 to 20 years. Depending on whether or not we have concrete or plastic holding tanks, which granted our holding tanks aren't enough right now.
Yeah, get to the question.
So we stopped, as the city council decided to stop doing the sewer rate increases because they said we have $3 million in reserves. However, it's not in the FCS study for that capital plan for redoing the treatment plant and redoing equipment.
Question.
What is the plan?
Okay, fine.
Because this wasn't in the FCS study, and we already have huge water increases, and now we're looking at aged equipment on our sewer treatment plant.
Just
And-
what is the plan is the question.
How are you gonna pay for it?
And how do you pay for it?
You want me to go first? Okay. So, a lot of there about sewer rates, water rates. It's very important in here. So, one is scrubbing the budget, understanding what we have there. So, the Civic Center, okay? We're gonna spend $600,000 on a Civic Center for 1,200 square feet. $600,000 to cost construction. That's $500 a square foot. Even if you live in a house, it's $500 a square foot for something that's not even usable. I mean, again, we're gonna have the city workers that are gonna come in and fix it, and we're gonna go down that. So I look at it and go, if we can spend $500,000, it was really gonna be $472,000 out of the budget, but the city assumed we were getting $50,000 from our port commissioners, and the port has said, no, we're not giving you that $50,000. So we're now spending over $500,000 out of our general fund. If you can spend $500,000 for a center that won't be built, you can go find resources. So $500,000 you can put towards your city, or you can put it towards your water, one of those. You have to start looking and saying, what are the priorities here? And so again, city sewer, city water. Those are priorities, those are ways to lessen the burden for our citizens. So that's the first thing I would do there, is I would start looking and saying, hey, what are we doing that really is diligent? I mean, we just spent, in 2021, the mayor talks about how we have outsourced numerous positions inside City Hall. But then why did we just buy new office space? We bought Spruce right next door. We paid $235 a square foot for that building for $400,000. Again, we went down people, but we're going up office space. It doesn't make sense. We can find money to put towards water and sewer so that we can not have 210% increases.
I'll go ahead and start with the answer to your question. And that is the plan. And the plan is that there is a utility rate study that's been done. And it did call for expansion of the sewer plant. We as an administration came together and said, I think at the time when we were talking about this, it was $23 or $24 million to do that. That's not appropriate, and that would be on the backs of the ratepayers. So we've come up with a solution, and that's a biosolids tank that will give us longevity for that sewer plant. And that is being paid for through the reserve account that is with the sewer. For many years, the city was over collecting on sewer and under collecting for water. We've since balanced that out, and now we're moving forward with that, and we're following the plan that was done by FCS. As far as the Civic Center and taking money away from here and there and everywhere and putting it into the utility system, first of all, the port didn't offer $50,000. They offered $10,000, which they paid, and we're very grateful for that. The $50,000 was for a marketability study for the 426 acres that they requested the city do, which then they refused to pay because we didn't have an agreement in place. So the fact that $600,000, the bid came back at $1 million for the Civic Center. We value engineered it. We got it down to $600,000. We received the property for free. We went out. I was able to collect $70,000 in grants. We received a check for $135,000 from Fort Vancouver Regional Library for the roadway improvements that are up there that we can then turn around and put into this project. So all told, it's $395,000 that at the end of the day will be the build-out cost of that. And it's going to be the entrance to our city, which we're working with downtown Woodland revitalization to bring historic downtown to the entrance of our city and beautifying that. And I think it's going to be a project that we all can be proud of.
Haven't been looking over here. Any questions on this side of the, oh, there's one.
I have a question about transparency, since that seems to be a big word that keeps coming up over and over again. So I've been to multiple community events and I've seen Will Finn there as the mayor answering questions, sitting at a table, and he's out there and about. I have not seen you at many. So I'm curious as to what your plan is for increased transparency, so that you say.
Yeah, absolutely. So when we say that he's been sitting at tables, again, he's been sitting there in the position as the mayor. But some of the transparency. So we had a council meeting last night, when you get done with a council meeting, we shouldn't have to wait till the meeting minutes come out 2 weeks later. I think it'd be very simple to send an email out, as anybody that wants to be on that distribution list, hey, here are the takeaway action items. So one, that is very transparent, back and forth there. I started on this campaign with doing town hall meetings. That was something that I started, about 3 days before his very first one. He scheduled the same time, same night as mine, and held it down at City Hall and said, oh, we're gonna have town hall meetings now. So again, some of the things that he's doing are actually follow-alongs. His newsletter, which was supposed to be a weekly newsletter, it's been 19 weeks and there's only been 8 of them, so it's really bi-weekly almost. And so I would continue on doing regular meetings, regular sit-downs. I've also talked about having monthly coffee lunches, where anyone and everyone can come. We can invite county commissioners. Again, very accessible to those type of ideas. I mean, that's where I'm talking about transparency is, you know, and if you have questions, want numbers, I will give you all day long what those costs are.
I don't know that your question got answered, but I think being mayor is you have to be engaged with your community, you have to show up to the events, you have to speak to the people. As far as transparency, some of the things that we've done as a city is we've upgraded our technology to allow for ease of access through our website, making sure that any information that we have is accessible to anybody who wants it. That includes the folks that live here in the city or those that are seeking to do business outside or within the city that live on the outside. We've opened up our meetings for additional public testimony, which had started before filing week had occurred. And as far as the weekly newsletter, I never committed to a weekly newsletter because I know I don't have the capabilities of doing that. Not to mention the fact if I put a newsletter out, I want people to read it, and I don't want them to be inundated with information and miss something that's important. So we try to stagger that information by putting it out. Business chamber folks are here. You know that I've been holding coffee talks and town halls with you since I started in 2016. That's nothing new. And I continue to do that as needed. In fact, we just had one on Friday. We saw a number of businesses that were there as well. When it comes to transparency, we've also upgraded our budget. This year is the first year that we've been able to put some graphs together, some pie charts together, so folks can actually see where the dollars are actually being spent, along with the supporting documentation for those that actually want to see it and read it line item by line item. Back to your question about community events and taking questions, it's important to engage. You can't phone in being the mayor. You have to be present, you have to be, I'm supposed to be at work today. I'm here because this is important to me. My heart is in this community, and I'm here to take those questions from you and hopefully give you an answer that can satisfy the question that's been asked. And if not, we will find you the answer to satisfy.
Next question.
I got one. I'm just curious, something I hear about all the time, past works in my bar, I hear a lot about this pool thing. And I hear about it all the time. Where did the money go for the pool that the community was taxed for? I guess 2 times they were taxed. Where's the money from that, and why was it not built?
The city that is a private organization that is building that pool. The city does not have any stake in that game. So if there was tax, it wasn't from us, and I don't believe that project had ever been funded. So there was no tax that was ever given. However, I believe my opponent here was on the taxing authority or the district, and maybe he can answer that.
So, again, swimming pool was not anything associated with the city of Woodland. So the 501c3 Woodland Community Swimming Pool by Ben Odoba down on Beacon Road, he ran that. The property, the issues, the money that is there. At the same time, there is a park and recreation for the Woodland Swimming Pool. I joined that in 2007 and 2011. I'm very open about it because I too want to know where are the dollars, when are we getting a pool in Woodland? So logical, you see that, hey, there's nobody running, I'm going to go on there. Again, the Parks and Rec is where you build a pool with a 501c3 and then it gets turned over to a taxing entity such as the Parks and Rec, just like any other community does, and it runs it, it sets the price and does that. And I wanted to be part of that team that says, hey, listen, look at this great thing for the community. as I was on there, I realized there is no pool coming. The vote went down, would turn it into the YMCA, and it was no longer a reason to be on that Parks and Recreation. So for anyone to say that I was part of the fundraising, not at all.
So where are the funds that were raised? There were funds raised, right?
There were funds raised, and I believe that the last I saw was $700,000 or something that was property. I know that Ben Odova has contributed some property and all that. I have no idea. I thought Bruce Hewitt has posted some things out there, but they're the experts on all that information. So,
There was no fund. I happen to know this because I do the tax return for that. There were no funds. There were no funds raised through taxes for the swimming pool, none. And the donations were actually put into the property, and so, and if you want more information on
They weren't
that.
used for a pool, which is what it was designed to
The
be.
property was purchased to do the pool. And
We still
then,
own the land, right?
pardon?
We still own the land, right?
Yes, we still own the land,
So
and we
seven-
still have a debt on that
So
loan.
$700,000 was put into building this pool, but yet we don't have a pool.
It's purchased the land to build this pool. We still have the land. Yeah, we're off topic, excuse me. Next question. Mary.
My question is, the city last year went through a state audit and they had findings for, I believe, segregation of duties. Also, there was some things that were related to the financial records. So where are you at in following up with those findings, and when is your next audit?
The current audit is currently going now. We're waiting for them to show up. They were supposed to be here last week, I believe, and as of yesterday at 10 a.m. they have yet to arrive. As far as the findings, I did have the after-action meeting with them, and the findings to the financial records were associated with the American Rescue Plan, so the ARPA dollars. And I pushed back on them because I don't think it should have been a finding. Our folks went through the training and followed the training that was given from the state auditor's office. They then changed the rules halfway through and then came back and said, no, you did it wrong. So I did push back on them and said, no, that's not right. We asked for some grace, and they still followed through with that finding. As far as what was the first part of that question?
Segregation of duties.
Segregation of duties. We are a small city. We do have segregation of duties. They understand that. Our conversation, that is something that's continually ongoing. We're very clear when it comes to who signs checks, who writes the checks, and then how they're distributed out. As far as the financial system, I don't have keys to it. I don't even know what the password is to get into the system itself. And I know that when I went through my interview with the auditor last year, that was one question that was asked. What part do you play in the financial management system itself? I don't have one. I rely on the subject matter experts that are out there, and that to me is a segregation of duties as well. We have reduced staffing. I know where you're going with this. We have reduced staffing within the clerk treasurer's office. When I started in 2016, we had 6 full-time employees and 2 part-time employees. We have now reduced that down to 4 full-time employees. We've streamlined services. We come from a customer service standpoint, and we have a better service that we're providing to our community, to include the business community. And I'm very, very proud of that. But because we were able to do that, we were able to reduce costs, upgrade technology, and again, keep those separation of powers at bay, and have a better system in place when it comes to servicing you, the citizens.
So a couple things there. Transparency. Did all of you know that what the findings were on the audit? Those are the things that we as a community deserve to know about those things. Again, he talks about financials and graphs and those things. City council meeting, we haven't had financials in there since May. We deserve to know how our money is being spent, where it is being spent. If we have segregation duties, we deserve that. And when we talk about customer service organization here, how many of you have had to deal with Mino? How many people have had issues with their bill? It's not great dealing with customer service. And then when the city is closed on Fridays, that makes it difficult. Again, customer service here. So.
Next question. Question? There's one.
I hear Mr. Todd taking several times about these expenses in the credit card. I think it's fair that our mayor tell us what was going on there. Tell us why he spent the $1,800 in a city credit card. We would like to know why.
First of all, when it comes to being closed on Friday, we're not closed on Friday anymore. We closed for a short time due to the overwhelming amount of public disclosure requests that came in, and we were having a hard time keeping up. We closed the doors. We worked on public disclosure requests at that time, which Mr. Dinehart would know that because he's been the recipient of some of those public disclosures. To your question, that was something that was disclosed on Friday, and by Tuesday when we're standing here, Mr. Dinehart brought that up. It's unfortunate that a very stressful situation for my family and I experienced fraud on all our bank accounts, to include my sons and my daughters, who happened to be here with my son. My son was traveling from New York, and my wife and I were in Las Vegas on vacation. I sent an email to our Deputy Clerk Treasurer informing her of the situation, which has been released by public disclosure. It's not something that was hidden. And through that email, I said, please let me know when the statement comes in to make sure that I capture all the charges. A check was written and it was paid for. So I'm not sure where the big aha moment of you're out partying on the city's dime, that's just not the case.
So, a couple things on here. Public records request. Todd has asked for one public records request, and I asked for a question about the sewer rate or the water rates of what the study said versus what has been collected, to understand whether or not if we were over collecting or under collecting based on the 210% water increase. I was trying to make sure and say, hey, listen, if it's too high, should we lower it down? Or if it's not high enough, and citizens know that there is another water increase coming. I mean, again, we have a water increase coming in less than 30 days. Hopefully everybody knows that. And then, so again, Todd has not done any public records requests. That is that one there. I find it interesting when he says it's a really horrible thing about credit card fraud, because it truly is. But remember, when Mayoral had a data breach, it was me who went to council meeting and said, listen, I've done research, I talked to other utilities and said, the reason it's been down is because there's a data breach. And they all looked at me like I was crazy. And Tracy and the mayor and the council all sat there and laughed and go, well, you know what, I've had my data breached at Safeway, at the pharmacist, and different things. It's a serious matter, and so it's ironic that he experienced that, but didn't take it serious for all of us on a data breach with Mayoral.
Question? I think he's first. You got the mic, yeah. I defer to the person with the mic.
Well, along with the stuff on Insulin Gun Club Road being a problem, it's going to be a larger problem. And I'm curious about what's in mind for the city for the rest of the streets to get on 503 and come either into town or leave.
Assuming you're referring to the development that's occurring along Lewis River Road.
Well, not just that. It goes farther up, and you've got 3 more developments going on up there.
Okay. So one of the things that I personally pushed back on was it's hard because Washington State Department of Transportation is the one that owns the road. We can't even send a flagger out without asking for permission to flag the road. So, and the majority of our thoroughfares here in town, the main arterials of the city, are owned by the state. So number one, we have a great relationship with them, and we're working on that at the corner or at the intersection of 503 and Gun Club Road. Eventually, there will be an intersection there. However, when it comes into funneling, then we go back to traffic impact fees. And I know that my opponent here brought that up that last night. We're not recapturing going back 10 years, but he was also told during that meeting last night that we can't go back and recapture the $1.1 million that we spent on the roundabout because there was other additional funding mechanisms that were there, and we couldn't include that into the traffic impact fee collection. So we're continuing, we've upped that now, or we're in the process of upping those numbers. And we will be using that money, and it will be a dedicated source to help upgrade our infrastructure to include our roadways. There is a plan for there, but at what point does that get triggered? The state will let us know.
So on those impact fees, again, it was a 45-page document. I don't think you read the document. We have 6 projects in there from 2019 forward where you look at the 100% cost, you subtract out the grant funding, and it got us down to a net amount of $789,000. So again, you would look at the $2.5 million you started with, and you take off the state funding, and you look at what we as a city paid was the $1.1 million, and so you get it thrown in there. Again, Tracy said that, well, I can't go back that far, but if you look at RCW code, it does not say how far you can go back. It's for things that you have built for future growth. That roundabout was for future growth. We as citizens deserve to have that built into our rates so that we get future development paying for what we have already paid for here.
Joy.
I guess I'm the last question. Since you each only have 2 minutes, I would like to hear why we should vote for you.
Okay. New leadership, strong leadership. Again, if you listen to the mayor here, he talks about things and puts a lot of blame on council and things of past relationships and things that have happened over the last 8 years. Again, that starts with him. And if you look at straight down the list of anything that goes on with our city, it starts with the top. He's talked about friends and family discounts in the water system and in the buildings, and that, you know, my knowledge cleaned all that up. Again, that starts with the mayor. The mayor is the leader for this here. Performance reviews. Let's just talk about something like that. How do our employees, meaning Pete, Travis, Tracy, know what they are doing well, what they are not doing well at? Again, it's simple things like that. New leadership that needs to come in here. And again, it goes back to a partnership. Right now, there is a divide in our community. It's noticeable in here, in the room. I mean, you can sense it. You go on social media, you can sense it. You go around. There is a divide. People do not trust our current leadership in our city. And we can sit there and say all day long, well, you know, open doors, and, you know, he says you got to phone in, or you got to show up, I should say. Again, you got to be there at well. People ask questions and say, oh, well, you know, who is our, you know, how do we get in contact with the mayor? Maybe we should hire somebody. He hired an administrator here to do his work. Again, this is a new position. We've never had that before. We don't need to go through an administrator. We should go right to the mayor when we have issues, concerns, questions. We are a community. We should all be here together. My bad.
To get your attention. Yeah.
I think it's important to actually answer the question. And the question is the plan. There's still no plan for my opponent. I've laid mine out pretty well. 2016, we fixed City Hall. We fixed the problems that were occurring in the trust issues. The last 4 years have been spent upgrading our departments, bringing transparency forward, and upgrading systems within the city to get trust from the community, because that was one of the broken relationships within our community. The next 4 years will be spent on a comprehensive plan, updating our growth to make sure that it's reasonable and responsible, making sure that we're doing what's right with the resources that are being provided to us. Over the past 8 years, we have ran a very conservative budget, and we have worked very hard towards our financial goal that has been set by City Council, and we will continue doing that. We will also take time to ensure that the information that we're providing to you is received. Falling short of going door to door and letting people know what we're doing is where we are. We are using social media. We're using our website. We're using our meetings. We're having open houses. We're having engagement with our community. We will continue doing so into the future. As far as the traffic impact fees, I'll go back for a second. We opened up in 1906. Perhaps we should do a calculation to go recapture all that money too. So there's only so far that you can go, and there's only so much that we can do. Our plan calls for $130+ million in infrastructure upgrades. We will continue over the next 4 years working towards that in hopes that we will be able to achieve some of it.
Thank you both for being here today. We appreciate that. Thank you all for coming. We appreciate your questions. Hopefully got the answers that you were looking for. So we're gonna go ahead and do our drawing.